Good afternoon and welcome. You are tuning in to the remote public scoping meeting for the 1014 Brook Avenue public scoping meeting. I'm just doing a quick audio visual check to our live stream to ensure that we're streaming properly, and we will kick off this meeting in just a minute or so at 2 p.m. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome. You are tuning in to the remote public scoping meeting for the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning proposal. For the record, the City Environmental Quality Review or CEQR number for this application is 26DCP001X. My name is Stephanie Shalou, and I'm the director of the New York City Department of City Planning, Environmental Assessment and Review Division, or EARD. Evren Olkar-Kajar, Deputy Director of EARD, will co-host today's meeting, and in the event of any technical difficulties on my end, she will step over to chair this meeting. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join this meeting, and appreciate your patience if we do run into any technical difficulties. I'll emphasize that we will hear from everyone who wishes to speak at this meeting and has used our registration process, and the meeting will remain open until all registered speakers have had a chance to do so. I'll also note that we welcome written comments on this application through 5 p.m. on Friday, August 29th, 2025, and we provide written comments with the same attention and consideration as those that we hear live during this meeting today. Next slide. We will now proceed to the public scoping meeting for the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning proposal. Again, for the record, I'll note that the City Environmental Quality Review or CEQR application number for this project is 26DCP001X. Today's date is August 19th, 2025, and the time is approximately 2 p.m. My name is Stephanie Shalou, the Director of the Environmental Assessment and Review Division at the New York City Department of City Planning, and I will be chairing today's scoping meeting. The Department of City Planning is acting on behalf of the City Planning Commission as the lead agency for this proposal. The lead agency, the department will be responsible for overseeing the preparation and completion of the proposal's draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS. Next slide. Joining me today are several of my colleagues from the Department of City Planning. As I mentioned, Evren Olkar-Kajar is Deputy Director of EARD. Brenna Hemmings is the lead planner for the 1014 Brook Avenue proposal in the agency's Bronx office. Paul Phillips is the director of the department's Bronx office. Stacy Barron is the project manager for the 1014 Brook Avenue proposal in the Environmental Assessment and Review Division. and Joy Kim is lead counsel for the proposal. I'll also mention that during today's meeting, we're joined by several DCP staff members who are working in the background to ensure that this meeting runs smoothly. So thanks for their help today. Next slide. Together, we're here to receive your comments on the draft scope of work for the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning proposal. The draft scope of work identifies the subjects to be analyzed in the upcoming draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS, and describes the methodologies that will be used in those analyses. The draft scope of work materials are posted online on the Department of City Planning's website. Next slide. The purpose of today's scoping meeting is to allow for public participation in the preparation of the DEIS at the earliest possible stage. Toward that end, the department will hear comments today on the draft scope of work from elected officials, government agencies, community board representatives, and members of the public. As mentioned, we also welcome written comments on the draft scope of work, and those can be submitted through Friday, August 29th, 2025 by 5 p.m. Next slide. At the end of the written comment period, the department as lead agency will review all comments, those that we hear today, as well as all of the written comments that we receive. After carefully reviewing all comments, the department will decide what changes, if any, need to be made to the draft scope of work, and we will issue a final scope of work. It's the final scope of work that serves as the basis of preparing the DEIS. Next slide. As mentioned, today's scoping meeting marks the beginning of the written comment period for the draft scope of work. Again, no decisions will be made today about the draft scope of work, but today's meeting is to allow the public to provide their comments about the draft scope of work, allow the department to listen to those comments and consider them in the process. It's important for all voices to be heard today. Next slide. I'll now focus on the structure of today's meeting, which will be divided into 3 parts. First, the applicant team will make a brief presentation describing the 1014 Brook Avenue proposal. This will include a summary of the draft scope of work, and this will take about 20 minutes. Then during the second part of the meeting, the department will hear testimony from elected officials, government agencies, and those speaking on behalf of the local community board. And then during the third and final part of the meeting, we'll receive testimony from members of the general public. The meeting will end when everyone who's had a chance to provide testimony has had a chance to do so. Next slide. On to a few logistics for today's meeting. This protocol, again, is intended to ensure that everyone has a chance to speak and that all voices can be heard. If you wish to speak and plan to access this meeting online using a computer, tablet, or smartphone, please register online through the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning public scoping meeting page of the NYC Engage portal at www.nyc.gov/nycengage or on the calendar page of the Department of City Planning's website at nyc.gov/planning. A link to join us and provide your testimony will be emailed to you after you've completed the registration process through either of those websites, and then we will add you to our speakers list. Next slide. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and you'll be granted temporary speaking privileges on our end. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and the ability to turn on your camera. There will be a short period that it appears that you're no longer in the meeting, but don't be alarmed. You will automatically rejoin the meeting as a panelist. At that point, you'll be asked to convey your remarks. To allow us to hear from everyone who wishes to speak, we do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you're participating online, a 3-minute countdown clock will be visible on the screen. At the 3-minute mark, your time will expire and you'll be asked to conclude your remarks. Please note that promoting and unmuting speakers does take a moment, so we appreciate your patience. And if you choose to turn on your camera, we will be able to see you. Next slide. For anyone joining us by phone today, if you wish to provide testimony via telephone, please select *9 when I prompt you. Please listen for me to call out the last 3 digits of your phone number, at which point you'll be given the temporary ability to share your testimony. You'll need to press *6 to unmute your telephone and we'll be able to hear you speak. Then when your testimony is complete or your 3 minutes have expired, whichever comes first, you'll press *6 again to mute yourself. We would still like to encourage dial-in participants who wish to provide testimony to register via phone using the dial-in participant hotline, the information of which are on those two websites that I mentioned earlier. Next slide. On to time limits. Speakers from the general public have 3 minutes to give their testimony, but there are a few exceptions to this 3-minute limit. Elected officials, for example, are given the courtesy of jumping to the front of the queue and are not time limited. To those of you viewing us on the live stream and wishing to testify, please be mindful of potential background noise during your testimony and make sure that the live stream is muted when you begin to avoid hearing an echo. Next slide. If you wish to submit written testimony, it can be submitted to the Department of City Planning. Our mailing address is shown here on the screen, 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Attention myself, Stephanie Shalou. We also have an email address set up for this project specifically, which you can find on this screen and on our websites. The email address to email your comments to us is 26dcp001x_dl@planning.nyc.gov. We accept comments on this scoping meeting through Friday, August 29th, 2025 by 5 p.m. Next slide. If you missed any of the instructions provided here, please do visit NYC Engage or our calendar website of the DCP website for instructions on how to participate and provide testimony. We are now going to move on to the first part of the meeting where the applicant will provide a brief overview of the proposed project, which will then be followed by a summary of the draft scope of work. So I will now pass it over to Maya Hatcher of the applicant team to begin the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maya Hatcher with MAD Equities. MAD Equities is a real estate development company who has partnered with community shareholders, city agencies, and non-for-profit organizations to deliver housing that responds to the neighborhood needs and priorities. Founded in 2010, MAD has led efforts in building affordable housing, work housing, local hiring, developing amenities for local communities, including retail, public uses, pre-K centers, early child care facilities, healthcare facilities, and grocery stores. MAD highlights economic inclusion, job creation, and local MWBE participation in all phases of development, from construction to long-term operation. The firm has delivered over 5,000 affordable homes and created more than $5 million in economic development in the Bronx. MAD continues to invest in projects that support long-term community growth. Through the Madruga Foundation, MAD supports 501c3 organizations that promote equality in housing, education, healthcare, and workforce development through the New York City area. Next slide, please. The development site covers block 2386 and include 19 different lots. The lot size, all of these together, equals 159,677 square feet. Right now, the land is a mix of vacant space. The buildings were occupied by manufacturing, warehouses, and auto-related businesses. The zoning is M1-1, M1-1, R7-2, MX7, which means it's a mix of light manufacturing and residential zoning. The zoning allows for a maximum FAR area ratio of 5.01 for residential buildings and 1.0 for commercial or manufacturing. Next slide, please. The site offers excellent public transportation with multiple bus and rail options within a short walking distance. Adjacent to the site, BX41 bus, local, and SBS. 5-minute walk to BX41, SBS, BX15, SBX, BX13 bus, 6-minute walk to BX32 bus, 5-minute walk to Metro North, Melrose Station, and a strong connectivity to the Bronx and Manhattan and regional transit. Next slide, please. The rezoning proposal transformed the site into a vibrant mixed-use development with residential, commercial, and manufacturing space. designed to align with the surrounding building heights. The proposed mixed-use development consists of 2 towers, one at 170 feet, topping at 16 stories, and the other at 204 feet, topping at 20 stories. The uses total a FAR area of 1,032,166 square feet and a FAR of 5.46. There will be 1,128 residential units and about 182 permanently affordable units. The rezoning will include M1-4 components to bring existing one-story auto shops into compliance. Currently, the site consists of a 2-story residential building at 203,010 square feet with a FAR of 1.7. One-story auto repair shop at 5,250 square feet with a FAR of 1.5. I will now pass it on to Shiva to go over proposed development.
Thanks, Maya. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shiva Gomi. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development at Offgang. You're leading the design team for this development, and thank you so much for the opportunity of presenting this project. As you can see on the screen in the illustrative rendering, we're proposing 2 buildings on this site. Building A is proposed at the corner of Brook Ave and 165th. That comprised of ground floor retail, which is going to be a home to a new sports facility and a couple smaller retail shops. We're going to have about 755 dwelling units proposed in this building, and the concentration of the height is going at the intersection of Brook Ave and 165th, going to 204 feet and 20-story heights. And then stepping down the buildings towards both of the streets, going down from 15, 14, 9, and 7, making sure that the building is complying with the context and making sure that pedestrian experience is going to be with the street wall at the highest maximum quality. And then building B, towards the middle portion of the block, we have another 16-story building, 107 high, and the ground floor is going to be occupied by 10,000 square feet of manufacturing space. We are proposing 135 parking spaces under building B, and there's going to be 374 dwelling units proposed in this part of the development. Next slide, please. The total of over 45,000 square feet of open space is going to be proposed in this development. As you can see, as at all 3 corners of the development, we have publicly accessible open spaces, and we are also providing a pathway and a cut through in the block, providing additional accessibility from 165th to 164th. And providing playground and landscape area with active and passive activities along the way on that central courtyard. It's going to be equipped with playground, sitting area, and walkway pathways along the both buildings. The distance between the 2 buildings is that within that central open space, there's going to be a minimum of 60 foot between the 2 buildings and a maximum of 75. So it's a wide open space for the use of the residents and publicly accessible open space for the community. You can also see that we're providing potentially outdoor rec area over the roof of the first floor in both of the buildings. Next, please. This is a proposed overview site plan of the project. You can see that a little bit more of a detail of that landscape area of the central courtyard and the proposed corner open plazas. You can see we're trying to activate the street walls with having all sort of access points and entries to the commercial spaces. The sport facility is going to be at the corner plaza of the intersection of Brook Ave at 165th. and residential entrances are going to be placed within the plazas to make sure that you're providing secure and accessible foot traffic for the pedestrian. And again, as you can see in that central courtyard, we're providing playgrounds and seating areas and access to the ground floor uses within the courtyard to go through both of the buildings. The parking entrance is going to be along 164th in Building B for the middle portion of the block, and manufacturing access from the corner plaza at the intersection of Brook Ave and 164th. With that, I'm going to pass it to Nora to walk you through the proposed actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiva. Nora Martins from Ackerman LLP, Land Use Council for the project. These are the proposed actions that are required to facilitate the development that was just described, and they include a zoning map amendment from the existing M11 district to an M14 R8 mixed-use district designated MX7, which would encompass a portion of the block 2386, including lots 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 11, 17, 20, 21, a portion of 22, and 74. The second part of the zoning map amendment would be on the block to rezone the existing M11 and an existing M11 R72 in the existing MX7 mixed-use district to an M14 R73 mixed-use district, still under the designation MX7, and that would include lots 22, the other portion of lot 22, 24, 29, 30, 34, 35, portion of 59, 65, 66, 67, 136, and a portion of 164 on block 2386. Another action would be a zoning text amendment to Appendix F of the zoning resolution to establish a mandatory inclusionary housing area that is coterminous with the project area being rezoned. And lastly, public financing to facilitate the construction of affordable housing. This is not subject to EARD, but it is subject to the environmental review. Next slide, please. This slide shows the proposed zoning map amendment. On the left, you have the current zoning map. And on the right, you have the proposed zoning map, which shows the proposed M14 R8 MX district mapped to a distance of 150 feet from Brook Avenue into block 2386. And then the M14 R73 MX district that would be established for the remainder of the rezoning area. And now I'll turn it over to Abir Sabet from EARD, the environmental consultant for this project.
Thanks, Nora. Good afternoon. My name is Abir Sabet from EARD, the firm that prepared the draft scope of work and will be preparing the draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS. I will provide an overview of the draft scope of work, which provides the framework for how the DEIS will be prepared. The DEIS will be consistent with the guidance of the latest version of the City Environmental Quality Review Technical Manual, also referred to as the CEQR Technical Manual, which is the standard guidance document for environmental analysis and review in the City of New York. The DEIS will identify the effects of the proposed actions and analyze impacts by comparing the future no action condition to the future with the proposed actions, utilizing the criteria outlined in the CEQR Technical Manual to determine significant adverse impacts. Next slide, please. As detailed in the draft scope of work, a reasonable worst case development scenario, or RWCDS, was established for the DEIS for the 2032 analysis year. As discussed earlier, the proposed actions would facilitate redevelopment of a single 3.7 acre site, which would become entirely under the applicant's control in the future with the proposed actions and comprises most of the area that would be rezoned. In the no action condition, it is assumed that only the portion of the projected development site that is currently under the applicant's control would be developed on an as-of-right basis by the applicant pursuant to the existing M11 zoning. It is anticipated that the applicant would demolish all existing structures on the applicant-controlled lots and construct a new mixed-use commercial and manufacturing building with the required accessory parking in accordance with the existing M11 zoning. In the with action condition, it is assumed that the entire projected development site would be improved with 2 high-rise mixed-use buildings that include a total of approximately 1.2 million gross square feet, or GSF, under the reasonable worst case development scenario, with approximately 1,129 dwelling units, as well as recreational uses, local retail, and light industrial and makerspace uses, as well as accessory parking. Pursuant to the city's MIH program, 20 to 30% of the projected dwelling units will be designated as permanently affordable at an average of 40 to 80% of the area median income, depending on the selected MIH option. Next slide, please. This table summarizes the reasonable worst case development scenario under both the no action and with action conditions. And the increment column on the right shows the development increment that will be used in the density-based technical analyses. As shown in this table, the proposed actions are expected to result in the net addition of approximately 1,129 DUs, including up to 282 dwelling units that would be designated as permanently affordable pursuant to MIH option 1, approximately 153,000 GSF of recreational space, and approximately 1 acre of publicly accessible open space, as well as a net decrease of 7,800 GSF of commercial retail space, 2,700 GSF of automotive uses, and 88,400 GSF of light industrial and makerspace uses, as well as 44 parking spaces. In terms of population, the total reasonable worst case development scenario under the proposed actions could generate almost 3,100 incremental residents and 230 incremental workers at the site as compared to no action conditions. Next slide, please. As detailed in the draft scope of work and shown on this slide, the proposed actions require consideration of most of the impact categories outlined in the CEQR technical manual. The draft scope of work provides a detailed outline of how each CEQR technical area will be examined, and for each of the technical areas, it identifies study areas, types of data to be gathered, and how these data would be analyzed and the potential impacts quantified when appropriate. Per the guidance of the CEQR technical manual, the proposed actions would not warrant analysis in the technical areas of natural resources and solid waste and sanitation services. I will now briefly discuss a few of the technical areas to be analyzed in the DEIS. For example, as the proposed actions would introduce new residents to the area, an analysis of socioeconomic conditions and community facilities, including public schools, libraries, and early childhood programs, is warranted. The residents introduced to the area by the proposed actions would also increase demand for use of publicly accessible open spaces, and therefore an analysis of open space resources is warranted. The proposed actions would also result in an increase in the number of vehicular trips and increased ridership on mass transit facilities, as well as affect pedestrian movements in the area due to the increased number of residents and workers. Therefore, a detailed transportation analysis will be included in the DEIS, which will analyze the changes to traffic, transit, pedestrians, and street user safety as a result of the proposed actions. Due to the increase in the number of vehicular trips within the area, the DEIS will also study the project-generated effects on ambient noise and air quality conditions as a result of mobile sources. In addition, both the noise and air quality analyses will study the effects of stationary sources. Since the project area is in an existing manufacturing zoning district, the presence of industrial uses within a 400-foot radius cannot be ruled out, and therefore the DEIS will also provide an industrial source analysis to determine the potential impacts of emissions from any existing industrial or manufacturing facilities. Due to the size of the proposed development, the construction of new buildings, and the length of the construction period, which would extend beyond 2 years, a construction impact assessment will be provided in the EIS pursuant to CEQR technical manual guidance. Next slide, please. In addition, the DEIS will include a mitigation chapter, which describes mitigation measures to address any significant adverse impacts that are identified in the DEIS. Where impacts cannot be mitigated, they will be identified as unavoidable adverse impacts. An alternatives chapter will also be included in the DEIS to evaluate alternative development proposals that may reduce or eliminate any significant adverse impacts. At this time, the DEIS is expected to study a no-action alternative and a no significant adverse impacts alternative. Additional alternatives may be developed during the scoping process in coordination with the lead agency. The draft scope of work can be viewed in its entirety online on DCP's website as seen at the bottom of the slide. Thank you for your time. This marks the end of the applicant's presentation on the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning and overview of the CEQR framework. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Stephanie Chalou from DCP.
Thank you, Abir and applicant team, for the presentation of the proposed project. Next slide. At this time, we will now move on to part 2 of the public scoping meeting, where we will receive testimony from elected officials, members speaking on behalf of the local community board and government agencies. When it's your turn to speak, your name will be called and you'll be promoted to panelist, which would allow you to unmute your microphone and the ability to turn on your camera. Again, there is a short period that it appears that you're no longer in the meeting. Don't be alarmed, you'll automatically rejoin the meeting as a panelist. If anyone experiences technical issues that prevent you from sharing your testimony, we'll pause to move on to the next speaker and allow for troubleshooting to occur. But please note that we do have participation guides on the NYC Engage website, as well as on the DCP calendar page for assistance. Anyone who is having any assistance in participating today can also visit our dial-in participant hotline that is set up for this project. You can dial any of the phone numbers at the top of the screen, including 877-853-5247. And when prompted for a meeting ID, dial 618-237-7396. Press pound to skip the participant ID, and the password is 1. This will connect you to a member of our staff who can address any troubleshooting issues if you maybe having trouble registering to speak at this meeting. At this time, we do not have any registered speakers who have registered through our process. So I do want to re-encourage anyone who is having trouble to dial one of these numbers and use the meeting ID shown at the bottom of the screen in order to receive help registering to speak or instructions on how to fully participate in this meeting. At this point, we do not have any members of elected officials, government agencies, folks speaking on behalf of the local community board, nor do we have members of the public who have signed up to testify. So at this point, we are going to take a brief recess to allow for anyone who is interested in participating and might not have had a chance to sign up to speak to have an opportunity to do so. So we will now take a brief 5-minute pause. Again, please join the meeting via phone using any of these phone numbers and using the meeting ID beginning in 861. Or if you need any help, dialing the meeting ID shown at the bottom, starting with 618. You will either join the meeting or be able to connect to someone who can help you register, or visit our registration page at nyc.gov/nycengage or the DCP calendar page to register for this meeting to testify. At this time, we will take our brief 5-minute pause to allow folks to register. So we'll be back at about 2:37 p.m. to continue on with any speakers that may have registered in the intervening minutes, and then hear from those members of the public or anyone else who wishes to speak. So we're on a brief recess and we will reconvene in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome back. We are on a 5-minute recess during the remote public scoping meeting for the 1014 Brook Avenue rezoning proposal. Again, I'll note that the proposal City Environmental Quality Review, or CEQR number, is 26DCP001X. My name is Stephanie Shalou, Director of the Environmental Assessment and Review Division here at the New York City Department of City Planning. We are currently on part 3 of our public scoping meeting this afternoon for this proposal, where members of the public and other interested parties are invited to speak for up to 3 minutes. We were on a brief recess to allow anyone who may not have had an opportunity to register at the beginning of this meeting to have an opportunity to do so. At this time, we did not receive any new registered speakers. And so I will ask at this time if anyone is joining via phone or joined at this time who would like to be heard on this matter. All right, we have not received any indication that there are any members of the public or any other stakeholders who are interested in providing testimony on this item today. So at this point, we will move to close the public scoping meeting. If we could go to, yes, thanks. Our next slide. If anyone did wish to join and would experience technical difficulties or was not otherwise able to do so, please note that we welcome written comments on this application, and those will be accepted through Friday, August 29th, 2025 by 5 p.m. As I noted earlier, the comments can be submitted through email or hard copy. The email for this application is 26dcp001x_dl@planning.nyc.gov. Comments can also be hard mailed to us here at our office at the New York City Department of City Planning, EARD. Attention myself, Stephanie Shalou, at 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Please note the deadline of our comment period, which is 5 p.m. on August 29th, 2025. We have no other members of the public or interested parties today wishing to participate, and so at this time we'll close the meeting. The time is approximately 2:40 p.m. Thanks to anyone who is viewing us on the YouTube, and we look forward to receiving any written comments that we will receive. The public scoping meeting on this matter is now closed. Thank you.